What's shaking, everybody? It is a Monday here on House Divided on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That's Chad Hastings. Greetings, Chad. I did a solo show earlier, and it made me really look forward to today's show. I never miss you more than when I don't have you at all. So
that's very sweet of you. I appreciate that.
As we begin a new week of shows, glad to have you for the next 5 days. Guys, do us a solid. Like, comment, subscribe. As Alan the Crane Man says, a great wrestling name.
Yeah.
It could mean a lot of different things. Smash that like button with a wrecking ball, or like a wrecking ball if you want to go Miley Cyrus with it. Thanks to everybody jumping into the Specs chat. We already see the comments. Lisa will tell you a little bit more about Specs as we go along today, but they deliver. You could literally sit here, watch the show, place a delivery order. It could arrive in the middle of the show. Then a real party could begin. Chad, Longhorns back out at practice today. There's going to be a lot of I've got a lot of energy for today's show. It feels like there's a lot of – the topics are just tailor-made for us. We had another Texas football practice today. Steve Sarkisian did a media availability after practice, and we got Alex Dunlap and Anwar Richardson and Jason Sukumel's notes from practice to discuss. There were some news and notes that I think are pretty interesting. Sark had some interesting comments that we can kind of pull apart. Oh, by the way, the coaches poll came out in between the end of the Overreaction Monday show and us doing the show right now. So Longhorns ranked 4th, Georgia ranked 1st, Michigan ranked 8th. Texas fans just think they're going to go right into Michigan and beat them by double digits, but that will be a top 10 team on the road. OU 16, A&M 20, and that's it. 4 opponents with ranked numbers on the resume, and if they can get through those, it's got a chance to be a really good season. It's the tough games are the tough games, but it's not, 2 top 10 teams, 2 top 20 teams. You can kind of live with that if you're Texas. You got to feel like you can be able to navigate that. And, oh, by the way, at some point during the show today, we do have to talk about the Longhorns in the Olympics, because this weekend was kind of bananas between Scotty Scheffler and Julian Alfred and Kevin Durant. And it's just the Ryan Krauser. Is that how you say his last name? I feel
Krauser,
bad.
yeah. Yep, Krauser, 3 in a row.
Back to back to back. If he was the only guy with a burnt orange tent that had done anything this weekend, back to back to back in the shot put in track and field is no slouch. Like, it's never been done before. He's literally the greatest of all time in the shot put. And Texas has so many badass athletes that being the greatest of all time in your sport, it's like, he was just another guy this weekend for the Longhorns. So a lot of stuff to get into. You tell me, where do you want to begin? Because we got plenty of time to get into all of it. Do you want to go rankings? Do you want to talk practice? Do you want to talk Sark? What do you want to do?
Wow. Let's see. Yeah, we got a lot of different options here. I mean, we'll take another quick peek at the coaches poll, because I know people get excited about that.
You love you some polls.
Everybody loves. Let's rephrase. I love when the coaches poll and when the AP poll comes out. And until we have the AP poll, which I respect a little more because coaches are too damn busy, we have the coaches poll.
It's the SID top 25 poll.
It is exactly. And let's take that extra peek to see how many first place votes Texas got. It's only one catch. If we see all the way over there to the right-hand column is where the first place votes are. So everybody's piling on Georgia. Ohio State was 7, and then Texas and Michigan are the only 2 other teams with number 1 votes. So as we look forward to game number 2 there for Texas, they'll face another team that's getting a first place vote. And then, as you pointed out, there's only 2 other teams on this entire list that are on the Longhorn schedule, and they are the big rival game that happens in Dallas and the rival game that's coming back that'll be in College Station. So, not a big shock of the teams that are up front and up high. And to my eyesight, Catch, nothing too crazy in terms of wacky K-State, wacky K-State SID, throws in like a strange first place vote for them or something.
I think the thing that stood out to me above anything else, Texas is in this new world, right? They're in the SEC now. 4 of the top 6 in the SEC. Then you add in Missouri and LSU, half of the top 12. They're not on the Texas schedule, right? But that doesn't mean that the league isn't still stacked when we start talking about the playoff later in the year. It won't work this way because you got to put in other conference champions and things like that. But to start the season, the coaches are telling us that 6 of the top 12 teams in the country are from the SEC and are legitimate playoff level teams. I mean, that's what that would seem to indicate. So all of those schools will be knowing that 10-2 probably gets you in. 9-3 doesn't, and they'll all look and wonder how many games they have to play against that group. And then you look at it's like, okay, well, Tennessee's there, Oklahoma's there, A&M is there. And then there's 9 teams in the top 20 from the SEC. I'm just looking ahead towards December, Chad, and there's going to be 3 or 4 SEC teams that will feel hard done by something. There will be a game where there was bad officiating, or there will be a ball that doesn't bounce the right way. And that will be the thing that keeps an SEC team either in the playoff or out of the playoff. It's a lot of teams. I think maybe the other thing that kind of stood out to me in a little bit of a surprising way is that even without Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12 has Utah at 13, Kansas State at 17, Oklahoma State at 18, Arizona at 21, Kansas at 24. 5 teams, that's not bad. That's not a bad way for the Big 12 in this Texas OU era, less era to get started. So it felt like top half, a lot of SEC, bottom half, a lot of Big 12, maybe more Big 12 than I would have guessed.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And I always like looking at the one reason I think the rankings have been interesting for me the last few years is to remind Texas fans that the Big 12 was not some big steaming pile of garbage throughout the year. You'd look at the rankings and go, oh, okay, there's, some teams that are ranked pretty highly. But yeah, it does make you realize, like you said, the new world that Texas is going in. Your gut today, Catch, guaranteed SEC teams that are in the playoff is the number 4 for sure for you, or is it
for sure?
Okay,
5 is going to be close.
The 2 teams that play in Atlanta, you would assume are in. Obviously, one of them has to be.
You would think so because the divisions are eliminated.
Yeah, 2 teams that are in Atlanta plus 2 more, and then we'll see where it lays out after that.
Yeah, where you would think the SEC could get in trouble in a championship game situation is if they had a 9-3 team that was in the championship game, and on the week of the game they would be in. Let's say they're 10th, they come in 10th or whatever in the updated polling, and then they lose that game and they fall back. But I don't think that's going to happen. You would anticipate 10-2 at worst between 2 of those teams. And maybe a 10-3 SEC team gets benefit of the doubt in a way that we won't see in any other league. But yeah, I think 4, yes, for sure. The question will be in year 1, do they get 5? And I think that'll be one of the stories of the entire season.
Yeah, interesting chat that came in here. Marcos says, wait, Oklahoma plays 6 ranked teams? I don't know, Marcos. Let's take a look. Let's see. Let's go down the list of teams they play. Texas, that's 1. Bama, that's 2. Ole Miss, that's 3. Missouri's 4. LSU's 5. Tennessee is 6. And I've got you covering up the last part of it, but I think that might be it.
I think that's right. But it's 3. They play 3 of the top 6 teams in the country.
Yeah, and it is 6 overall. Good call.
And then it's 11, and then it's 12, and then it's 15. So it's 6 of the top 15. Have fun with that.
I keep saying it, Catch. The rude awakening might be the Sooners' schedule in the SEC, but then as you look towards the top of those teams, Texas at 4, Ole Miss, their positioning, their schedule is getting a little easier. Missouri is not being handed as crazy a schedule as they've been dealing with recently. Those are 3 teams I'm interested to watch on how do you navigate what's been put in front of you. There's some tough in Texas's schedule. We know that. But compared to what OU's being handed, it's not the same kind of thing. So I'm interested to see how they deal with it.
One more thing that kind of stood out to me: Florida doesn't make the top 25.
Yep.
But I know I think Cody Carpentier and I are on Team Florida as being a little underrated. It's an older team. They got, I think, 17 guys on that Senior Bowl watch list. And they're big. They're big up front on offense. They're big up front on defense. I think that is the SEC team being slept on. You know, when you rank them out, it's like, God, Florida's 10th? That doesn't seem fair. But then you see that 9 other teams get ranked. I think Florida's a top 25 team that might be the 10th best team in the SEC. But I think that if we get to the middle of October and there's a surprise SEC team, I think it could be the Gators. And I was a little surprised, given, again, it's an older team with a bunch of older guys on it. The makeup of that team, if they get good quarterback play, and, you know, it's an elephant in the room for almost everybody, but it would seem to be they have the makings of a team that could win some games. Schedule is the schedule. You know, they have to play Texas. They've got a tough schedule. A lot of people don't even think that their head coach is going to make it to the end of the season. But, you know, if Florida were in the Big 12, we might be talking about them as being a favorite in the conference. I think they're punished by the fact that everybody realizes how many they didn't make it because they're 10th in the SEC. But if they were in another league, I think Florida's ranked, and I think we would view them as a little more dangerous than maybe their non-ranked status makes us think.
The other beautiful part of them, Catch, their schedule, if they're going to be good, unlike Ole Miss, unlike Missouri, they get to play teams early. Look at this ranking again. Miami is 19, A&M is 20. Florida plays both of them in their first 3 games. Think about that.
Yeah.
They host both of them, by the way, both at the Swamp. They host Miami to start the season. They host the Aggies a couple weeks later. You see where both those teams were last year, just above 500 and weren't ranked in the final ranking. That's a huge opportunity for Florida, facing, you know, obviously the A&M team changing out the coaching staff and all that stuff. We'll see what the Aggies are that day. That's a huge opportunity for the Gators.
I think it's simple as this. Cody says in the power rankings, Florida is for sure top 25 in rankings. It makes sense because they should lose at least 4 games. See, that's the thing. Everybody's counting losses, and they're saying, well, I think Florida's going to lose 5-6 games, so they're not putting them in the top 25. But if we weren't looking at schedules and we were just ranking teams, that's a top 25 team. That Florida game is the sneaky, not talked about enough, tough game potentially on that Texas schedule. Now, look, maybe by the time they play Florida, they just blow them out. Maybe they blow them out regardless of when that game is played. But I think Florida is a more respectable opponent than the outlook from the rankings would have us think today.
Yeah. And remember, if you're a Texas fan, good news on the Florida game is Florida comes off the cocktail party and you come off a bye for that game. That's the extra little advantage Texas will get. But they'll have gotten to see Florida play those 2 games we just talked about, Catch. What if Florida beats Miami or A&M? Then it's going to change the way.
And that's very doable. Like, they've got to make – that's a really talented roster. It is, we always talk about Texas A&M, and like people need to stop sleeping on the quality of the roster. They've got the 5th or 6th most. I forget the actual number now because I haven't looked at it in a while. But I think Oregon may have passed them. It's either A&M or Oregon. But Oregon's what, 3rd in the country, and A&M has the same number of super blue chips as Oregon does on its roster. So Florida's not far behind. They're not at A&M and Oregon levels, but I'm pretty sure Florida's in the top 10 nationwide in terms of super blue chips on its roster. So they have elite of the elite. They have as high of an elite of the elite number of players as most of the teams on that list, certainly as much as a team like Ole Miss, a Missouri. Florida's just not getting a lot of benefit of the doubt. And look, it may be someone, let me see if I can see it. Someone threw a Charlie Strong out there and I can't find it in the super chat. I'm looking for it, but yeah, no, there's some Charlie Strong vibes with the coaching staff there at Florida. That is fair. Oscar Chad comes in $4.99 on the super chat. Is it safe to say 4 wide isn't the best even when you have a ton of wide receiver depth? Wasn't 4 wide created to help teams with lesser talent space out the defenses? Yeah. I mean, when you think about the Texas Tech type of offenses, look, I said it earlier today on the Monday Overreaction show. You're not going to see Texas go 4 wide a ton. Steve Sarkisian likes having a tight end on the field at all times. And the primary reason for that is it allows him, from a personnel standpoint, to not tip off what they're doing on offense. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. You can swap out your wide receivers and it not necessarily mean anything at all. If you swap out the tight end, sometimes that is a giveaway. It's one of the reasons why Texas actually played a lot of 12 personnel, and I think they'll play 12 personnel a lot this season too. They like to put multiple tight ends on the field. It keeps defenses really honest in a way that when you go 4 wide, there's not a whole lot honest about that. You're almost certainly throwing the football, and defenses can adjust accordingly.
Oscar, we appreciate that super chat. It'll remind us to tell everybody else. Throw us a super chat like Oscar did. It'll go right to the top of the list. Thanks to everybody piling in.
Hey,
Expect chat.
Chad, our guy Buck Wild had a $10 super chat hot take earlier today. Yes. Did you catch the hot take from Buck Wild?
I did not. Are you saying I missed it in this show or the previous show?
In the Overreaction Monday show.
Oh, my bad. Okay, no, I didn't catch it.
He ended the show with a $10 super chat that said, when it's all said and done, Trey Owens going to be better than Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. And the entire show stopped.
Nice.
And all we could do is give a volleyball clap to Buck Wild for having the hottest of the hot takes. The 3 Monday hot takes today, gold medal was that one. You're not getting a better hot take than Trey Owens is going to be better than Arch and Quinn. Number 2, Cody Carpentier predicted that Jordan Washington would end up as the GOAT tight end in the history of the Texas football program.
Well, okay. That's
not
a good
far behind.
It's good overreaction, yeah.
And then I think it was either Tom or Jay said that Jatavian Sanders wouldn't be remembered as one of the top 3 tight ends in Texas football in a few years. That the tight end position was about to start cranking it up, and that we just wouldn't even remember Sanders in a few years. I have that right.
So just to round it out, did your boy jump in and double down on Bad Boys 2 being the best movie ever made?
No, I need to call Chris.
Because that really feels like you need to check in with him every once in a while just to see if it's still the case.
We were in high school when he said that.
Right. So you need to make sure, first of all, they've made 2 more Bad Boys. You got to give Bad Boys 3 and 4 the chance.
I never said that my guy Chris still felt that way. All I said was that when the movie came out, as we were walking out of the theaters, that was his hot take.
Yeah, we got to get an update because I love stuff like that when people are that strong about certain things. At this moment, J.D. Lewis, the former Longhorn basketball star, still has the favorite song, and it hasn't changed since I first asked him years later. I check with him every time I hear the song. I'm like, is this still the greatest song ever made? And he says yes every time. So sometimes you got to check in.
Now, I know you want to read that and say supper.
Supper. Hot take.
Super pupper.
Super pupper. Hot take Monday. PK is very low key on the hot seat. What?
Hey, that's a super hot take.
That is a super hot take. That's how you know that it just means more in the SEC, that you're going in thinking that about the DC. Whoa. Okay.
PK's got, where did that stray come from?
Damn. Man just sent 2 big D tackles to the NFL, and
they were in the playoff.
Defense was badass against the run. We won't talk about the pass defense, but things happen. Man's working on it.
There's no getting around the fact that like Johnny Nansen is Sarkisian's guy. So if there were ever any issues whatsoever, or let's say it got hot in the kitchen and Kwiatkowski was like, screw this, I'm going out west, going back home. Then I think Texas probably has their ready-made replacement in hand, but I don't think Kwiatkowski is on the hot seat. That's just my opinion. Chad, we get another super chat.
All right, $9.99 from Paul. Buy or sell? One, there's an 84% chance. 84% chance. Sam Pittman is on his way out by the time Texas plays Arkansas. And 2, Napier is fired after the season. 3, for Chad, 2005 Texas beats 2012 Aggie. Wow. Okay, 3 separate buy or sells. We'll go in order. Sam Pittman, 84% chance on his way out by the time Texas plays Arkansas. Catch, that game is obviously, into the November part of the schedule. What do you think?
I'm going to sell and say it's slightly lower than 84%.
Okay. Well,
I'm not saying it's lower than 50. I'm just saying I'm not quite ready to go almost 85%.
Yeah, I'm not going that high either, Paul. Catch, here's the way I would start to answer that question. Right now, could you guarantee me A&M's going to beat Arkansas? Like, for sure.
I mean, no, but the history would say for sure.
Yes.
So I'm close.
Yeah, those are those kind of games with Arkansas where I'm trying to I will give them enough respect to let's see how things play out. A lot of transfers, quarterback, and the Bobby Petrino thing is blinking in my head too. I know he's one of those wackadoos in football, but the football part's not the wacky part. That man can coach. And
I think Pittman's a good coach.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'll give him that respect. I think that number's a little lower.
But we just talked about there being 10 teams in the SEC that probably deserve being ranked. And Arkansas is in that group of 6 that's not. Florida isn't, but we think they should. Arkansas is not, and we think that's probably right. But is he going to get fired? Like I said, just a little bit lower than 84%.
Yeah, the second one for me is a buy. I think Napier's out.
I agree. I think part of his holding the job last year for another year was that they had some recruits that they didn't want to lose. And one of them was a 5-star quarterback from the state of Texas. I wonder, you're throwing a young quarterback on the field and saying, YOLO. Sometimes there's a thing that works for a coach. Buy them another year, especially if that freshman quarterback sizzles enough that it's like, oh well, the two go hand in hand. What if Florida gets into a situation where their young 5-star quarterback does a Jimmy Chitwood and he looks good, right? He comes in, he's playing some games. Suddenly there's like hey, what exactly do we have on our hands here? Is this guy going to be our next Heisman winner? I know that sounds crazy. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but DJ Lagway is really, really good he's a 5-star talent. And if it looks like it's about to go sideways and they put Lagway on the field and Lagway starts to do some, I don't know, let's say some Johnny Manziel things, right? And then when it's all said and done, remember, look, if Caleb Williams was connected to the hip to Lincoln Riley, so wherever Lincoln went, Caleb Williams was going to go. If you felt that DJ Lagway was a little bit like that with Napier, and Lagway started to say things like, if Napier's gone, I'm in the portal, period. That could impact the way a university thinks about it. Look, Texas kept Shaka Smart around for another year. In part, they didn't want to eat the money, but they also thought, God, Greg Brown's coming in. 5 stars, McDonald's All-American. We got that guy's got, and it turned out wasn't worth it. No offense to Greg. Like, we all enjoyed Greg. I'm just saying at the end of the day, it wasn't worth it. Chad, number 3. It's not for me, it's for you.
Oh, it is for me. Yes. I think I've been asked this one a few times over the years. For me, that is a buy because of defense, because of an entire football team. I think Texas's defense would make the difference there. Where you play it would matter a little bit, but I'll go Texas there. Remember, the next season, Johnny Manziel scored 42 at home against Bama and 41 at home against Auburn, and he lost both of those games. The defenses those years had moments. The defense won the game in Tuscaloosa, technically, with DeShazer Everett and that play, but catch, those defenses were not awesome. That Texas 05 defense was. So it ain't just about Vince versus Johnny. The full team Vince brought with him, I'd lean Texas in that matchup.
As I wrote this weekend, that was an 05 team that had 7 All-Americans on it. 5 who were first-team All-American, consensus first-team All-Americans. Yeah. So, yes, they don't win that national championship without Vince Young being an alien, but it was a loaded team on both sides of the ball. They were good up front on both sides of the ball. That was a Texas defensive line that was Rod Wright and Frank Ocam and a young Roy Miller with Brian Arakpo coming off the bench behind Brian Robeson and Tim Crowder. I mean, they were loaded. That was a loaded football team. I haven't even gotten into the secondary, which had a couple of Thorpe Award winners, a bunch of first-round. That was a great Texas team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I personally would rather see the 2012 A&M team play the 2012 Texas team. I would much rather see that matchup.
Or that 2012 Texas A&M team being a 4-team playoff and 12 team. Like, there's probably a lot of games you'd like that 2012 team to have been able to play. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with 2005 Texas. That's 1999 Super Chat from number 7. Why is the SEC schedule so unevenly balanced?
It's interesting. Unevenly balanced is an interesting way to phrase that. Number 7, it's because, I don't know if they would admit that they do this, but, they protect certain things and they create certain things. They've been doing it for years. And if you're a Texas fan, I think this schedule shows you that they think you're a big deal. So I'd take it as a compliment. And I'd move on.
Somebody had to get screwed, and they decided that was Oklahoma.
Man, they looked directly at Brent Venables and said, well, he talked about a fire hose. Why don't we put one right in his mouth in the 24 schedule? It's crazy. Like, I'm sitting here, watching this when it came out, and I'm looking at it from the A&M fan side of it. Like, the Aggies didn't get hit near as hard as what OU did. And I've watched the Aggies take some pretty tough schedule moments, but they did not get treated like that. OU, there's some others. We talk OU, Florida, Arkansas. There's some.
Georgia's got a bear of a schedule. They've got to go. They've got to play Alabama and Texas.
Georgia and Bama both have to play right now. Have to play tougher teams than what Texas has to play, and what Ole Miss has to play. So, but we'll see.
I'm reminded of that Kirk Bowles question on SEC Media Day when he asks Sankey, what are you going to do if Texas comes in there and starts throwing their clout around? And it's like, hey, Kirk, they already did that. Have you seen the schedule?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What are you going to do? Turn around, give them Bama and LSU to finish the season? Probably not.
What is it going to make it easier? No, the schedule is what the schedule is. And on paper in the first couple of years, you would anticipate that the Texas is in a pretty envious position, in terms of the way things shape up. It is just the way that it is. Now, look, Texas still has to play 2 top 10 teams this year. Only one of their 4 toughest games is at home. So there is some nuance to, the whole thing. It's not like Texas is shooting from the layup line, but there's no way to get around the fact that the schedule, if I was Oklahoma, I'd be so pissed. There's just, you look at that and your team's not elite yet. And to have that schedule when your team has got a young quarterback with very little experience, you're trying to navigate your first year in the league, and it's just like 99-mile-an-hour fastball inside, high and tight on every weekend. It's pretty crazy.
The other thing I'd look at, Catch, if I'm an OU fan, I would pair it together. Everything we would have just talked about. Plus, you look at Arkansas's schedule, and it is another real tough one. And Arkansas gets Texas, and you're thinking, oh, there's a chance for the Hogs to 11 a.m. kick. That one was for Texas too. Just little things like that where an OU fan's going, really? Really? They have to go to Fayetteville? They have to go to Fayetteville and face all the hatred, but at 11 a.m. Okay, thanks, SEC. Appreciate you.
I'm not going to put this up on the screen, but there's a comment in the chat from Nathan.
Uh-oh.
That I thought said Bryan College Station. And it doesn't.
That's good. I like it, though. I like it. That is, I'm not sure. Hell, you won't. I will. I wonder if this is is this a Monty Python reference, Nathan? The BBC fire hose? Is that what that is? The BBC?
I don't think so, Chad.
No? Okay. All right. My dad and I were talking about the BBC rope when I saw him. That's from an episode. Maybe it's not it.
Look, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that was like a Pornhub search engine. BBC.
Oh, BBC. Okay. See, yeah, I don't know.
What does it mean that?
Don't know.
Either if you're right, then I'm just a dirty scumbag.
I was just being a nice, innocent boy who grew up on Monty Python and thought it was the British Broadcasting Company. It was a BBC television reference. So I thought that was just a sweet, innocent guy. That's all I am. That's all I am, Nathan. So I don't know
he does. He says, yeah, Monty Python.
See? You see? He was doing it. What length of BBC rope?
The thing is, it says fire hose. So I thought it was a play on words. And
yeah, there was an episode where a guy fell through the Earth's crust and he needed a rope, and they used the BBC rope. And he asked, what length of BBC rope would you be needing? So he went with the BBC fire hose.
That? All I can tell you is if you go to some pornographic websites and you type in BBC, you do not get a Monty Python skit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know if so. Maybe Nathan and I are nice, sweet, innocent boys, and everybody else is bad.
Fire hose. Like what else?
Look at Nathan.
You know what? That really is Nathan. For the kids.
No, it's not Monty Python. My God. Yes, I know, Nathan. All right, I'm with you now. I just realized what it was. We're gonna move on. We are going to move on. Thank you for almost 500 folks in the Specs chat. I have finally figured those letters out, and we will just move ourselves on. Let's talk about some practice. We can talk about practice here in just a second. Before I do that, let me talk about my nice, sweet, innocent self sleeping last night, doing no evil thinking at all. There was no evil thinking. There was no bad thinking. It was no rudeness. It was sinus and snoring specialist. I slept like a baby, an innocent baby that does not know what those letters mean. Sinus and snoring specialist can make sure you feel good, you're resting good, you don't have allergy issues, you won't have those sinus headaches and sinus infections you always get. You're not going to deal with the snoring stuff, whether it's you snoring, maybe it's somebody you're sharing the bed with that is snoring and needs help. Get them the help that they need as well. Sinus and snoring specialist, over 20 years of experience with Dr. Slaughter and his crew. I know some of you have already gone in there and gotten the process started, and you're loving it. And you've let them know that you saw it here on Orange Bloods Live. We appreciate that. Just check them out. 601-0303 is the phone number. They're right there at Parmer and Mopac. go to the website, sinussnoringent.com. Start looking at some of the things that they've got. They've got more options than other places do, surgical and non-surgical. So check them out. Sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy, and clean and innocent, and having never been to Pornhub.
Somebody
All right.
said that Michael, not everybody covering Texas football can say that. I don't see a Michael Simpson super chat.
I don't either. I was going to tell Michael that. Michael said, yeah, there was some kind of 1099 or 9. I didn't see it. Michael, I don't know if something went wrong, but if you feel like you've paid, please let us know like what it was, and we'll get in there.
Because on our end, Michael, they're shaded McCallum Knight blue.
Yeah, we see it.
Or yellow, or it's shaded differently. I'm going all the way back, Chad. I don't see it. But look, Michael, we love you. Just tell us what the question was. We'll pretend that it's a super chat.
Yeah, we'll trust you. We will trust that the money changed hands. Go ahead. We will do that. It said it was at the very beginning of the show. Yeah, we've gone to the beginning, and I don't see it. So,
but yeah. Michael, it's honor code. We believe you.
Yeah, throw it in. Throw it in there. Over 500 folks in to the Specs chat right now. While we're waiting for that super chat and others, Catch, you mentioned it. Practice cranking up this week, headed towards the Show Me scrimmage this Saturday. That's going to be really important for Texas. What do we need to know? You want to talk about Sark first and what he said? You want to go practice notes? What jumps out at you today?
Well, I'm just going to tell Michael, if it's there for you, it's not there for us. Because the very first message that I see from Michael, I don't even see
Catch. Michael. Here's what's weird. Look at this one. This one from Nathan is reacting to whatever they're talking about. Michael, I think you're right. OU simply has a different set of expectations. I have no, but then I don't see what they're reacting to.
So Michael, just resend it because Chad and I just can't see it.
Yep. That's all you have.
Anyway, let's talk about practice today. There were a couple, I think for me, there's a lot of little interesting little nuggets, Chad, but the one that stood out the most for me was that Alex January was playing some second-team defensive tackle today. And I don't know that I don't want to say I don't know that I expected that, or didn't expect that. Alex January is like a really talented true freshman, but we know they're bringing back, they bring back Alfred Collins, they bring back Vernon Broughton. They went out and got 3 transfer portal defensive tackles. So that's 5. So Alex January, just to get through that, to get to the second team, he's got to get through a couple of guys. It sounds like before they've gone to full pads, it sounds like he's making enough of an impression that he's doing some work at second team nose tackle. That's big.
I like that.
Because that gives you an indication that Alex January, forget about this season, next season, you start hearing that the true freshman defensive tackles are this early into their true freshman season are working with the second team. It gives you an eye that maybe it's one less portal guy next year that they'll have to take because they'll have money in the bank in January. So you don't want to overreact too much. They have a lot of guys. So the personnel mixing, could change every day because they've got that many bodies, but not necessarily that many. And for those who are wondering, it sounds like Tia Savea is the one who moved from second team to third team. So, just something to file away. When we get to the end of the camp, is Alex January still doing that? I think that note has me thinking for the rest of camp, keep an eye on January. I wouldn't anticipate a bigger move than that. Like, I don't think we're talking about a guy that's going to be competing for first team reps. But if he becomes a fixture on that second team defensive line, I think that's an incredibly positive development.
All right, Catch, we got that super chat rundown now. Michael got it back in there, so let's throw it up. My hot take: if Arnold isn't all world by 25, Venables won't be back in 26. They lose a lot on D after this year and are just meh at skill positions and aren't strong enough in the trenches for the SEC. All world is an interesting way to phrase that, Catch. So not all world by 25. Venables won't be back in 26. What do you think?
No, I believe that. Yeah. The end of 25, that's Venables' 4th season.
Yes.
Oklahoma is like Texas. You don't get more than 4 seasons to prove that you have to start showing some borderline elite quality. Look, if Sarkisian hadn't had the year that he had last year, if he goes 9-3 last year, Chad, but they don't win the Big 12 and they don't make the playoff, and let's say they lose the bowl game, so they're 9-4. Sark's a little bit on the hot seat this year. They won the championship and go to the playoffs in year 3, completely wiped away bad year 1, average year 2. So you look at Venables so far, bad year 1, slightly above average year 2. I mean, they were okay. They probably should have been in the Big 12 championship game, and they weren't. They lose their bowl game. But now you look at that schedule, and it's like, if they don't win more than 8 games in either of the next 2 years, he'll lose his job after 2025. Absolutely. Oklahoma will find somebody, because Venables isn't a guarantee on the box.
Yeah, I guess my only thing about that is I want to know what Michael means by all world. All world sounds like a pretty big deal to me, doesn't it? I mean, all world, that sounds like he might be, second team SEC quarterback, maybe even better than that.
I think that's what they're going to need is Jackson Arnold to be a first round draft pick as a quarterback. And look, if you're Oklahoma, I think if you're Oklahoma, you probably feel as confident about Jackson Arnold as Texas fans felt about Quinn Ewers a year ago. They think Jackson Arnold is going to be a star. So I don't even think Oklahoma fans would blush, because they have I think they realize this year there's going to be some growing pains, and whatever this season is whatever this season is. But I think they look at 2025, Oklahoma fans, and they say, we're making a run. And if they don't, it means that Jackson Arnold isn't as good as they thought he was. And maybe they shouldn't have run off Dylan Gabriel, or however we want to phrase whatever that was. Mm-hmm. Venables is a guy that is good, but he's Tom Herman, right?
Maybe.
Because Texas officially didn't fire Tom Herman because of the Eyes of Texas thing. Officially, they felt like he was very good, but in order to be great, they needed to find somebody who was slight margins better than him, and they went Steve Sarkisian. That's officially the decision-making that took place. Tom Herman was a guy that could win you 8 games. He'd win you 8 games, no problem. He wasn't going to win 10 or 11 easy, and that's the area code that Texas wants to live in. That's the area code that Oklahoma will demand of Brent Venables. At some point, he has to get there. He doesn't get a free ride forever. And it's hard for me to believe he would get a 5th year and not really have taken some pretty big steps.
Michael, thank you for getting that super chat to us. We appreciate you for that. We got another super chat we will get to. It is in the Specs chat, up over 560 folks in there. Here's Lisa to remind you about Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Heck yeah, get stocked up for the rest of the Olympics. You got NFL preseason cranking up this week. The Cowboys play on Saturday night. The Texans have already played a game with the Hall of Fame game. By the way, nice game, Colin Johnson. That was good stuff.
I saw the Colin Johnson highlights. I watched none of the game live.
Dude, it's hard to catch a ball when you're falling to the ground and your helmet is trying to unscrew itself from your head. That was incredible.
I saw someone call it the Colin Johnson game, and I was like, no, don't do that.
I wouldn't go that far, but
you don't want your game to be a preseason game.
No, yeah, you don't want that. Let's wait a little bit on that. All right, here's Tracy wanting to look back just a tad. Super chat, $5. Thoughts on the preseason coaches poll that was released an hour ago. Tracy, we started the show with that, but briefly, Texas at number 4. We were talking about Texas being 4, playing 4 ranked teams in the coaches poll, but Oklahoma being ranked, 16, and facing 6 ranked teams in that coaches poll right now. That was kind of the comparison we were doing when you jumped in, and we were talking about OU's schedule versus Texas's schedule. Texas did also get 1 first place vote. Georgia got way more than anybody else, and that would not surprise anybody. Georgia and Ohio State got the most first place votes on the coaches poll. Thank you, Tracy, for the $5 super chat. Catch anything else you wanted to say on the preseason poll before we go back to practice?
I was just going to say, I zoned out for the last 15 seconds. The steeplechase is a really interesting event.
Okay, the steeplechase is the one where they're at the track, but they add like a little kiddie pool that they have to jump over, like and hurdles and stuff.
Like a mini moat.
Yeah, they add a little track moat and the stuff you jump over, right?
Yeah. It's strange when it's like out of nowhere, there's a mini moat and a fence they have to jump over or climb over or,
You really feel.
The thing is, no one likes their feet. Like, no one wants their shoes to ever get wet. Right? Like soggy feet, soggy shoes, soggy socks. The steeplechase, by the end of that race, there's a lot of soggy feet.
Yeah, you have to, right? There's no way to avoid that. I just think somebody got really high years ago and was like, hey, what if we treated them like they're horses out on the track and we put some water out there? Like we make the horses jump the water. Let's make the people jump the water. Well, that's crazy. Let's try it.
No, you're right. Someone stoned. It was like a stoned Greek OOC official.
Yeah. Or maybe it just rained really hard one day and they just didn't want to stop the event.
There was water on the track, and at the end of it, they were like, that actually made things kind of fun.
That was fun. Let's call it steeplechase and just go. Let's do it.
Okay. I got my steeplechase takeout. For a second there, I was like, oh yeah, there they go. They're landing in water. That's interesting for a second. And then I realized, we're being asked for a super chat on our thoughts on the top 25. I would just say this to put a ribbon and bow on that, Tracy. 6 of the top 12 SEC, 4 of the top 6, 6 of the top 12 in the SEC, 9 teams total in the top 20. So 45% of the top 20 is from the SEC. And then, as I mentioned at the very top, Big 12, a little more representative on that list. Nobody higher than, I think, 13, but 5 teams overall. They're taking Texas and Oklahoma off and adding those teams. It's a pretty good conference still. It'll be. I don't know that I care a ton about the Big 12, but I think there will be some interesting games played this season.
Yeah, there will. Definitely will. Absolutely. There's going to be games we'll be paying attention to. We'll be peeking in on them. And don't worry, Buck Wild. Didn't miss your super chat, $5. I was hoping y'all could get the Orange Blood staff together and get a composite team rankings for us to argue and agree about every week.
He wants an OB top 25.
The OB top 25 every week.
So all of us would submit a top 25. We then have official rankings, and then we would argue about it.
And we can't be like the coaches and have somebody else do it. We would have to actually do it. Yeah.
My wife fills out the ballot.
Yeah. We should all let some random person in our life do it. Your wife does it. My daughter does it. Let one of Anwar's kids will do it. It'll be great.
If I have Cody fills out his own ballot, but then I have him fill mine out too?
Ooh, yeah. Can Cody just fill out everybody's and we'll call it the Cody composite?
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, we're doing that. That's what we're doing. You know what? Cody is Anthony Michael Hall in the Breakfast Club. He's going to write the paper at the A. You are the smartest. Well, yeah. And we trust you. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, exactly.
And then at the end, we're all going to sign our names to it without ever having looked at it.
Hey. Yeah, Exactly.
Which
All right.
one are you, by the way?
Which one am I?
Yes.
Oh, man, of those people, I would have to be him. I'm not that smart, but if I have to, I'm the nerd, right? Like, I'm going to be the nerd. There's no way I'm John Bender. There's no way I'm not. I wasn't that level of high school athlete where I'm Estevez. So I got to be Brian.
I don't think Estevez was that good of an athlete.
Okay. You're saying maybe my tennis talent in high school could match his wrestling talent?
Yes. Here's who I think of Estevez in that movie.
Okay.
He's athlete who thinks he's way better than he is, or that anybody would care.
Okay.
I mean, I know there are states where wrestling is big, but come on.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. There's a moment in that movie where he and the Molly Ringwald character are discussing a party at Stubby's. Dude, I didn't. There was no party at Stubby's that was inviting me because my dad was a teacher and they all thought I was a narc. So
I'm just saying, I don't think he was the best athlete. I don't think he was in the top 10 best athletes at that school.
I get that, but I felt like he was more popular. I felt like he was a popular kid. I was not that level of I didn't get invited to anything at Stubby's house. I'm just telling you. I barely knew where Stubby lived, much less got invited to that party.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Now, I might have helped Stubby with his homework, but Stubby would not let me know where he lived.
I wonder if I don't know. You know, the great thing about that movie is it's at the end of it, you're supposed to be a little bit of each of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's ultimately what the movie is supposed to kind of represent. Today's practice, Chad. Hey, let me give you some names of young guys that after practice today, Sarkisian singled out.
Okay.
These are, well, it's 4 young guys and an older guy, okay?
All right.
He does mention Silas Bolden. He's not young, but he's a newcomer.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about this today earlier on a Monday Overreaction show. Bolden continues to be a guy whose name is being mentioned. I think he's been everything they hoped he would be so far in practice. Still running with the second team, and who knows, that may go on for a while. They may not change anything until they get to the games, but we'll see. Young players that he mentioned. Jarrett Gibson running with the third team offense.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive lineman Nate Kibble also working with that third team offense, but interesting that you're seeing the true freshman offensive. He gets mentioned instead of Brandon Baker, the 5-star. Things that make you go, he mentions Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker.
Okay.
Which I think is kind of important. I know it's early, and I know they really haven't been taken to the ground tackling yet. But, man, they need Ty Anthony to be good because they do not have a lot of quality young depth. And that's a huge position in recruiting. Ty Anthony Smith just being a guy that in 2 years from now you feel like still going to be on the team is a good thing. And then Jordan Johnson-Rebel gets a shout-out. Again, all of these players outside of Bolden, I wouldn't expect to play enough to be factors this season. But 5 days into practice, Sarkisian calling their names out. It's not the obvious guys. He didn't just call out the highest ranked names of the recruiting class that he just signed. He mentions Nate Kibble instead of Brandon Baker. He says Jordan Johnson-Rebel over Xavier Filsaime, right? So, it was notable the names that he gave shout outs, maybe as much for in contrast whose names he didn't single out. So Sark calls out a few young guys. Any thoughts on that?
The one, Gibson obviously Gibson and Kibble jump out immediately. Those two offensive guys are interesting because I think you're always looking for depth at a position like, depth and somebody to get your attention on offensive line. And then we've talked about Gibson and Clark, and we talked about them in the spring. Are they going to have some kind of impact this season? And if so, which one of them? So kind of you always talk about coaches not wanting to mention one guy because they know they're leaving another guy out. So for him to mention Gibson, that's
Clark has been banged up. And so I need to check on whether or not he participated today, but he was wearing the green jersey earlier in camp, a sign early on that Gibson by default gets all of those reps that he's not until I need to check and see what's going on with Clark and whether or not he was fully back on the field. I haven't talked to Jason or Alex or Anwar. By the way, Football with Friends later today, 6:00 tonight. Alex did all of his notes over on orangebloods.com. I know he'll be like itching to talk about it on Football with Friends with Cody Carpentier. Just a shout out on that show, a reminder of the programming associated with that show. But yeah, advantage Jarrett Gibson between those two, because I don't think both of those running backs are going to make it. It's a running back position that if Jaden Blue doesn't explode and have a season so good that he goes off to the NFL, they return everybody next year. So if you're 4th or 5th on the depth chart and every single guy in a really good running backfield comes back, it's frustrating. If you are one of those freshman running backs, right now today that CJ Baxter has 2 seasons remaining. So through no fault of your own, it might not be till year 3 on campus that the starting job would become available, like realistically. So I think those 2 guys are trying to battle each other for positioning on the totem pole very early on. And I think the loser of that battle eventually transfers. That's my guess, not because both of those guys aren't really talented, but to ask both of those guys to wait potentially into year 3, I think is a hard ask.
We got some good chats here that I want to get to before we get to buy or sell. We got buy or sell. I got a couple questions for you about guys I saw in names I saw in practice reports as well. Real quick, before I do that, let me hit a little AV consultations. Remind everybody about it could be that screen you want. It could be that setup you want. You were watching the Olympics this weekend and you realize, man, Simone Biles looks good, but she doesn't look as good as she should. Not because of her, because my damn HD ain't good enough. I don't have enough. I don't have my 4K or my 5K. I don't have everything lined up. And I don't even know what the top of the line is right now. AV Consultations does know all of that. 255-8678. They've been doing it since 1988 when TVs, the big ones, were too damn big for anybody to lift. You had to have like 5 friends to lift those big TVs back then. Nowadays, they're light as hell. They can go in all kinds of places, and they are badass. They can set up multiple screens for you. Big screen you've always wanted, a screen in your bathroom, a screen in your kitchen, a screen outside. You want to get everybody outside at a badass patio area and project games onto your house or a giant screen? Yeah, they can do all that stuff. Give them a call, and they will get you started. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. Thanks to AV Consultations for being one of our great partners around here. Catch, we had a good chat. Since you were just talking running backs, somebody threw in Jaden Blue is sure going pro. He's going to break out this year. I like the video this morning of Jaden Blue almost running over Anwar Richardson at practice. Anwar, nice job of being fluid. Feet were moving. Lateral movement.
Yeah, man.
Quick feet. Jaden Blue did look good on that play catch, and I think a lot of Texas fans are expecting him to make some big explosive moments this year.
No, I agree. And Jared, I'm not necessarily going to say you're wrong. Sometimes you never know. This time last year, we would have thought Jahdae Barron would leave to go pro after last season, and he didn't. It'll come down to, does Jaden Blue feel like coming out of this season, is he healthy? And maybe, if he has a sequence like Jonathan Brooks did a year ago and then gets hurt, who knows? Maybe he still goes pro. I think that there's a good chance that he would go pro, but I don't think it's for sure. And I don't mean to be specific to exactly what you wrote, but it is specifically what you wrote. Is he it's a little bit like the 84%. We weren't asked whether or not we thought Sam Pittman was going to lose his job or not. We were asked 84% did we think that he was going to lose his job. I think there's a good chance that Jaden Blue goes pro, but I wouldn't say for sure because a lot of things could happen. And at the end of the year, it's not impossible to think he has remaining eligibility. He may feel like he needs it the way Jahdae Barron did. And he does have that in his hip pocket because he's making enough money in NIL right now that if the thought is, well, you're going to be drafted on day 3, he can make as much money in NIL as a guy would in day 3 and try to boost his chances of making more long-term money. So now I'm just babbling, but in the spirit of what Jared is saying, or Gerard, correct me, by the way, is it Gerard? It's got to be Gerard. It's not Jared.
See, I read that as a Jared.
It's got to be Gerard.
But you got the Rod. You got 2 R's and Gerard. It's got to be a Gerard. You're right. I'll go
It's
Gerard.
not Jared. There's no ED. It's not like Gerard. It's Gerard. Yeah. Unless he tells us in the chat that it's not Gerard. I'm in the spirit of the comments, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, chat. Also, interesting one here from Michael Catch. Buy or sell. If you could warm up here, if you could choose one player on this team who would make the most difference to the team by turning into an All-American this year, it would be Alfred Collins.
Sell.
See, I want to instantly sell it too, and I hope Alfred becomes a badass. But like, if Jonte Cook becomes an All-American, doesn't that impact the team more than if Alfred Collins did?
I'll give you several, actually.
Right?
I mean, the most obvious answer is Quinn Ewers.
I was going to say, yeah, 3 jumped in my head and then 1.
I mean, that is the most obvious answer. Mm-hmm. Quinn Ewers hasn't been anything close to All-America yet. If he does, I mean,
yeah.
Texas is going to be really good in a way that no other position on the field can quite impact. Ndamukong Suh was the best defensive tackle we've probably ever seen at the collegiate level in 2009, but he wasn't more important than the quarterbacks. Just, it is what it is. Even if he was the best player in the country that year. I think Trey Moore. I mean, if you told me that the nation's leading sack guy transfers to Texas and emerges, he's a preseason All-SEC third-team guy. If he's an All-American, he's a double-digit sack guy. And Texas hasn't had a guy like that in more than a decade. Like you almost got to go back to the Sergio Kendalls of the world almost a decade and a half ago to get somebody that you would say, oh my God, they scared the crap out of every team off the edge. Not just they put up good sack numbers, but on every play, where's that guy? If Trey Moore could emerge as that type of player, I think that would be more impactful than Alfred Collins. If I had to pick, I think Malik Muhammad. I mean, if you tell me at the end of the season that Malik Muhammad's first or second team All-American, then that means Texas has a lockdown NFL first-round draft pick kind of corner. And then I think you could even say a guy like Isaiah Bond at wide receiver. If you tell me right now that guy has a better season than either Xavier Worthy or Adonai Mitchell had a year ago, so much so that he's an All-American. And I know Xavier was an all-purpose All-American, but I'm talking All-American wide receiver. I think it would mean really good things for the quarterback play as well. So there's some trickle down to that if you had if you had a wide receiver like Isaiah Bond become an elite of the elite player at his position, the trickle down to what that would mean for Quinn Ewers is probably really, really good. Think about Washington last year and what it meant for Michael Penix to have a top 15 player in the 2024 NFL draft playing wide receiver for him. It changes everything. So sell. It would not be Alfred Collins.
Michael, thank you for that. Our man Cody Carpentier jumps in with a good comment on Quinn. If Quinn's an All-American, it's a ring on the finger. You can't say that about anyone else.
You could say that about the kid at Georgia. And I think you could say that about Jalen Milroe.
I think he means anyone else on Texas's team.
Oh.
Because the question was about which guy on Texas's team.
No. Cody, yes.
I would agree with that, Cody. That's an interesting way to say it. Also, Catch, before we get to buy or sell, this is not a super chat by definition in that they didn't put anything in the tip jar, but this is a super chat. Get ready. I'm going to go with Ehi is how to say this name. Check this out. All caps. I can't see any team on our schedule staying within 28 points of us this season. To say otherwise is blatant disrespect.
Wow.
Come on.
Do we think he entered a USC chat platform that he thinks is in 2004 or 5?
I don't know, but let me tell you, to set that bar starting out, knowing that you host Georgia, well done.
Hey,
well
I
done.
sat next to him in 2001 when Texas was beating Colorado like 42-10.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Sims. Pick it up.
Let's go.
You suck.
You lost to OU last year. You're going to Michigan, and you're going to host Georgia, and you think it's 28 or more in every game. God love you.
Because I know that guy was mad when those two teams played later in the year.
Woo,
I watched him stand up in Section 8 in 2001, screaming at Sims while they were up by almost 30-something points of a ranked team.
If y'all know Ehi, don't go to his house for the Michigan game. Just don't. Because I don't know a lot about that game, Catch, but I'm going to guess right now Texas doesn't win it by 28 points or more.
I just think that, you know what?
That's bold.
Is that a bigger hot take than Trey Owens will be better than Arch and Quinn?
My gut says no, but maybe.
It's up there.
It's close. Those two things are pretty damn close.
I applaud going for it.
Yeah. I'll say the quarterback the quarterback one still feels a little bigger. But Eddie, I love it. I love it. Do not make that your last chat. Please. Eddie hitting the specs delivery early today. Yes. Eddie, don't let him talk bad about you. I need more of those. I love it. That is fantastic. Somebody says might be hitting that Rogue shop a little bit too. Speaking of, Catch, before we go buy or sell, you want to tell the folks about Rogue? Did Rogue help to calm the stomach down over the weekend?
Oh my God, I forgot what happened on Friday.
Dude, if y'all missed it, like Catch literally had to jump off the show and just show us the leather chair for a little bit.
With an empty chair.
He jumped off the show while I was doing a spot and threw up and then was feeling a little queasy the rest of the show. And I told him, I thought maybe the Rogue could help. Does Rogue help with that stuff?
It did, but I took a nausea pill. Then I late. What? Oh, is this a Rogue? Oh, it's a Rogue. Well, the stuff I was going to mention wasn't exactly Rogue. I laid down, rested, then got up and went to the Texas Card House. And I might need to vent a little bit about that, Chad, before it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful time at the Texas Card House in spring, but there's a guy that I still want to curse out. About Rogue Shop, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Love me some Rogue. I was on the website earlier today, and I'm telling you, yes, they do still have a lot of the same promos that they've been running for a while now, which is one way of me saying, hey, guys, let's update, the offers. Maybe there's a Labor Day offer that we can put together, but they still have the Rogue Shop sample pack where you're getting a little bit of everything. They do have the new THC flower, ice cream paint job, sleep, anxiety, muscle aches. There's so many reasons and things that you can be dealing with that they can help. They can help out with. And there's no reason to be full of stress and anxiety because you don't want to, you're supposed to get lazy after you become a stoner. You're not supposed to already be lazy. So you go in, you get treatment, you feel better, and Rogue Shop becomes one of the best things in your life. It's that simple. Use that QR code or just go to the website, But yeah, man, there's never been one person that's ever purchased anything from Rogue Shop on orangebloods.com in all the years that they've been on that's ever complained. Think about that. People at Orange Bloods complain about everything. So you know, they never complain about Rogue. All right, Chad.
That's about as good of an endorsement as you can give right there.
We got another super chat.
$5. How likely, from Tracy, thank you, Tracy. How likely are you to roll your eyes when Texas fans start chanting SEC, SEC, SEC? I will roll mine 100% of the time if I hear it. Tracy, I would be one of those to roll, yes, but I'm not an SEC chanter. So I will roll my eyes when anybody does it. It's not really something I understand. Catch, how about you?
First of all, Tracy, you better get used to your eyes being in the back of your head. 2, I think Texas fans are itching to scream it and yell it. It means they've won. Look, Texas will never scream SEC, SEC for anybody else. So they'll never do it to lift someone else up. Hey, Georgia won the national championship. SEC. That'll never happen. But I think Texas fans won't want to admit it. They're dying to yell it. They're dying to scream it. Not everybody, Tracy, but enough that it'll be heard.
All right.
Enough that when you're at DKR, at least 1/5 of the crowd will be cheering it at one point. It'll be loud. You will hear it.
Let's go through it, Catch. Let's go through the good news part of it. In fact, let's go through it with Ehi's idea of everything is a 28-point win or more. If they're beating Michigan late by 28 or more, will you hear it at the Big House?
Yes.
I would think so too. If they're beating OU by 28 or more late in Dallas, will you hear SEC in the crowd?
Yes. Because if you're winning by that much late in the Cotton Bowl and OU is emptied out of the stadium, you're going to think, what's the most humiliating thing that you can chant? And it would be that.
Right, because you get to own the building for the rest of the game. You own Dallas for the rest of the weekend. You might do it there. If they're leading Arkansas by 28.
No, you forgot one. Georgia.
Okay, sorry. If they're leading Georgia by 28 or more in DKR, will there be a chant?
Dude, if they're winning by an extra point in the second quarter, we might get an SEC chant in that game.
If they're leading at Fayetteville 28 or more, are they going to chant SEC?
They won't do it to Vanderbilt because that's beneath them. But Arkansas? Oh, yeah. There will be some feel good. We may get through the end. And yes, you don't even have to say it. They will chant it at Texas A&M. Right. That may happen in the pregame.
Yes.
It may be that by the end of the year, it's a new tradition.
Right. If it's 38-10 in College Station, they're going to change. In fact, I'll contend, Catch. I said it about that game. I'll now say it about all 3 of the rival games. I think the winner will chant it at the loser. Either way. Whoever wins will chant it at the loser, and Texas would definitely do it at the Big House.
There's no doubt about it. We got a $2 super chat from Esrone45. 10-2 at best. Defense is questionable. At best, not at best. That's just. I think that's wrong.
This is not Ehi's. This is not Ehi's brother right here.
But 10-2 is most realistic. Maybe, like 10-2 at best sounds like you are really down on Texas. If you say 10-2 at best, what do you think it means? 8-4?
That's how I interpret that.
If you say 10-2 at best, 9-3 can't be the. I see what you're saying, Esrone45. I don't know that I completely agree with you, to say the least. Another $2 super chat. Oh no, excuse me. $4.99. Win-loss for Horns this year is.
I got 10-2 regular season.
I am not officially on the record because I want to wait and see if anything. I need to see what kind of happens between now and let's say 2 weeks from now. Does the injury bug bite at all? I'm leaning 10-2, but that's very unofficial at this point.
And my little qualification catch is I think they win. I think Texas goes 10-2 if they beat Michigan. If they don't,
yeah, for sure.
If they don't, there's a chance it could be 9.
Oscar says for $4.99, chanting SEC at Brett Yormark's post Big 12 championship was fun as F, and no one can ever make me feel bad for that.
That's a great moment. It really was. Like both moments, the last part of the season when they threw up the comment on the screen at DKR, that was wonderfully petty, and the crowd got to enjoy that. But yes, then to get to chant it at him in the building when he presented the trophy, that's good stuff. The Undertaker's there, good stuff.
Before we go to Tom's super chat, hold on. I clicked on it. Is it going to happen? Come on. What's happening?
Come on. I don't know. What happened?
I don't know. Like, it just doesn't want to pop up.
All right. I just saw a 10-2. Now I see 10-2 again. I'm not hitting anything, I promise. You trying to get to Tom G?
No. I'm trying to get to E. Let's see if this works. Here we go. No.
No.
Okay. This is the one.
Until I see improvement from Quinn, 10-2 is the.
Now that is a fair qualification on if the Quinn Ewers from last season is the quarterback of this year's team. What do we think that means, Chad?
If he's what? I'm sorry. Say it again. If he's what of this team?
What the hell just happened that caused you to not pay attention?
I was looking at Ehi's thing. I just saw Ehi's.
Well, S. Rose said 10-2 at best.
Right. I said 10-2 at best.
And then he's saying, until I see improvement from Quinn. So my question to you is, if Quinn Ewers is exactly the same quarterback that he was a year ago, what's that imply about this team and what it accomplishes during the season?
If he's exactly the same, that's a great way to look. That's a great question. I'm not gonna say it's a great way to look at it. It's a great question. My gut wants to say they're 9-3.
Yeah.
If he's exactly the same as he was last year, and in all those kind of moments, that inconsistency to me would lead you to 3 losses.
There, the Alabama game is his, had he made the Heisman ceremony a year ago, let's just say that was the moment.
Oh yeah.
The thing about that game is that game's won by a couple of moon balls that he throws deep, one to Mitchell and one to Worthy. He didn't do that again the rest of the season at all. Mm-hmm. That Alabama game was a one-off. My lasting memories of Quinn are being very average against Washington, being superhuman in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State, but then also being very human against Texas Tech the week before that, very average. 9-3 probably. I don't think they're getting to 10-2 because I don't think they're going Georgia, on the road at Michigan, on the road at Arkansas, on the road at A&M, and not getting bitten at some point on the road. And then, he's got to be better against Oklahoma too. He's one of the reasons why they didn't win that game. He was great in the second half. I've defended him for what happened early in that game, but he had a couple turnovers. So, 9-3, I would say, if it's the same Quinn. It is a really talented roster. Tom G, $10 super chat. He just wants to say 11-1 with a loss to either Georgia, OU, or A&M SEC title game.
Yeah, Tom, you would definitely think that would get you to an 11-1, would get you to Atlanta against somebody. That'd be a hell of a season right there. A loss to either Georgia or one of the big rivals, obviously both away from home. Georgia's at home. That'd be huge, and that definitely would get them to Atlanta, catch, barring 2 other teams in the SEC going perfect.
Damn, Tom, you couldn't put Michigan in there and just give the defending national champions at home early in the season a little bit of a chance? Enough of a chance to mention them?
Hell no, Tom's with Ehi, 28 or more. No, he can't be. He's at 11 or 1, so never mind.
He's not quite
to that level. Okay, we also had this super chat catch. Longhorn Football Edits wants to get a little promo in, $5. Santana Wilson breaks the starting rotation by the end of the year. and a shameless plug on all socials. Santana Wilson breaks the starting rotation by the end of the year. Whoa.
That means John A. Barron is trying to get an application for another season.
Good grief. All right, Longhorn football edits. We appreciate it. And
I'm
this is now he's now my favorite. 12-0 at worst. There you go. That's what we want. That's the baseline.
I am a founding charter member, along with Alex Dunlap, of the Santana Wilson fan club. Longhorn football edits, you can be in the club.
Okay.
You're not the president with that wild ass take, but you don't have to. We're going to comp your dues. You're in.
Yeah.
You're in.
Hey, Tom's back in and said, hey, I have not worries about Michigan. No worries. None. Tom G, not worried.
Okay, Tom. Fair enough.
Yeah, defending national champ. And then Hook'em Baby. What does Chad think the score prediction will be for? Okay, no, wait. Now, Hook'em Baby, that was the picture that was Ashley the other day, wasn't it? Isn't that the same picture? Ashley, don't be freaking us out. All right.
This may be her way of staying in.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Hook'em Baby is the name now. The score prediction for the A&M game. This is interesting, Catch. You have a feel for the score of that game? I'm thinking like 30s to 20s is like in my mind in terms of that game.
I got 27-25.
Oh, that's good Lord. We're all going to need a drink if that's the case. Good grief. That'd be incredible if that's what it turns into.
I think it's going to be that kind of a game.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I could see it. I'll push maybe one team up into the 30s. Maybe it's like low 30s, high 20s. But
I think Texas fans are delusional if they think that that's not going to be a bear of a game.
See, and then you got Blake. You got Blake just having fun, undefeated going into Colorado State. Well done, Blake. Well done. Well done. Well done. All right, let's see. Cody Carpentier says 26-21. He's kind of got the same type of game you got, both in the 20s. That'd be a hell of a ball game. Hell of a ball game. All right, Catch, are you about ready to do a little buy or sell here on a Monday?
Yeah, I only entered one question. Let me go first.
Okay.
I will eventually get to the one question that I entered into the system. Apologies for not being completely ready today.
All right. No
problem. No real good excuse. I could make excuses, but I'm not. I just didn't do it.
Come on. You did 2 shows. You did a show by yourself earlier, and you're the damn boss. What am I going to say?
And the Olympics were distracting me.
And the Olympics were steeplechase was happening? Come on.
Buy or sell number 1. Alex January running with the second team defense today in practice. You think by the time we get to the start of the season, the old Duncan boy that you scouted in person last year against Waxahachie, you think he's still running second team? He's not going backwards. It's only up from here.
I'm going to buy. I'm going to say Alex January does not just bust up Waxahachie Indians. He may be getting a chance to bust up some Colorado State Rams in a second team kind of a vibe. I'm going to say he keeps heading up. Yes.
Buy or sell number 2, the Longhorns, number 4 in the coaches poll released earlier today. Buy or sell. You think that's a little too high? You would have them outside the top 5.
All right. Let me just take a quick peek. Let's just do a quick peek here. Here it is.
So that means you would go not necessarily in this order, but Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas.
No, I'm going to sell because I am a firm believer in, given I know that's not the same 2 teams, but you know what? You're going to put Texas and Bama right together in the rankings. Texas did go to Tuscaloosa and win. Give them the love. It's a preseason coaches poll. They didn't even vote. This is SIDs anyway. Who cares? Let's throw Texas at 4. They give them the love. I got no problem with it. And they made the playoff last year. So I'm selling.
Buy or sell number 3, Scotty Scheffler wins gold at the Olympics. And that's at least on par with winning a major?
I got to buy that. It's very unique anyway, but it's unique for them. You and I have not lived our whole lives with golf being a part of the Olympics. It's not like Arnold Palmer went to the Olympics. Ben Hogan didn't go to the Olympics. Hell, Tiger Woods in his prime couldn't even go to the Olympics. So yeah, I'm going to buy that the way it felt anyway. But then when you saw what happened to him on the medal stand, yeah, that's badass for them. Getting to rep the country. We know repping the country in Ryder Cup matters so much. And then to see it on the Olympic level, yeah, I would think he would tell us that it's on the level of winning a major.
Would you fake cry if you won the gold medal?
No. I would I'd do whatever happened, but no, I would not fake it.
It just seems like it's in your best interest to cry.
I would not cry. I would
if you even do that thing that Ben Stiller does in
it gets some little tears. No, I do my normal ritual during the national anthem, and if tears showed up, tears would have to show up. You know me, Catch. I can't fake. My face doesn't fake anything really well. I'm a bad poker player. I'm a bad, like everybody knows.
You couldn't Tropic Thunder the cry scene?
I can't do it. No, it's what it would look like. You'd see me. I'd be standing up there. It's like, let's see if Chad Hastings gets emotional. And I'd be like, I'd be trying. I'd be like, you'd see it. It would be terrible looking.
Buy or sell, number 4. Where the hell are the Aggies at in these Olympics?
There've been a couple mentioned, but I guess I have to say bye. There've been a couple in the pool. I've been looking for more on the track because
you guys had some in the pool.
Yeah, there was a couple in the pool.
I didn't know you guys did the pool like that.
There's a couple in the pool. How dare you? And then I'm assuming there's going to be a couple, impactful track moments because the Aggies have been pretty badass in track and field last few years, but I haven't seen a ton of them, so I guess I'll buy.
I've not heard a giggle once on Gold Rush. I'm waiting.
You really think they're going to say gig 'em on the gold?
I've heard hook 'em a couple of times.
Oh, well then.
Because the Longhorns have won some gold medals.
Yeah, no, it has not happened. It has not been a strong showing for that side of House Divided. Come on, Army. Let's go.
All right. And finally, this is the buy or sell question that I did enter in. Buy or sell number 5. So in my 10 thoughts in the weekend column, I ranked who I thought were the top 10 all-time athletes from the state of Texas.
Yes, you did.
And it is a little bit like going to the dog pageant, and it's like that bulldog is a better dog than the poodle dog. It's like, well, they're not even the same like dog. How can you compare them? I get it, right? On some level, it's very hard to just compare these sports. But I started thinking about football, and this one I've been thinking about for almost 24 hours.
Okay.
Buy or sell. In a battle of Texas NFL running backs, you'd take LaDainian Tomlinson over Adrian Peterson and Eric Dickerson.
Wow.
Because they're all bunched together. They're all bunched together. I think LaDainian Tomlinson and Eric Dickerson are within 0.1 yards per carry of each other and less than 300 total yards rushing.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. And also you made it simple enough where all I have to do is tell you I'm selling because my gut goes to one of those other two guys versus Tomlinson.
Really?
I dig Tomlinson. Tomlinson's amazing, but I'm leaning. If you made me pick of those three, I'm going to take one of those other two guys in their prime.
Dickerson was 5 times first team All-Pro, and Tomlinson was either 2 or 3. I think Tomlinson was 2 times first team All-Pro and 2 times second team All-Pro, but you would think tiebreaker goes to the guy that was 5 times.
Yeah, my gut, this may be just me old man football fanning it, but of those 3 right now, I get one of those dudes in their prime, biggest handoff of his life, I'm going to hand it to Dickerson.
Really?
I'm going to hand it to Eric Dickerson. Absolutely. It just, and it's to watch him set that record that year like he did, the uniqueness, just the unique quality of everything he did. There's only been one Eric Dickerson in my whole life, Catch. And that's true of Adrian Peterson too. Those two are so unique, but
They literally, both of them had over 2,000 yards in a season.
Yeah, right. No, I'll go with Dickerson though, because he's what, the 2,100 record or whatever it was.
He was at 2,105, and Peterson finished at 2,097.
Damn. So Dickerson still has the record, or did somebody get it from him?
I think
Does somebody have it?
Has it?
Does he still have it? Eric Dickerson, what a badass. Yeah, those are. I mean, that's hard to go wrong with any of those guys. And
yes,
God love.
So here it is. Okay.
Okay.
Do you know how many guys in the history of the NFL have broken 2,000 yards in a season?
Okay, so Dickerson.
Oh, it's a good quiz. How about I tell you how many there are?
Okay.
And you try to name them.
All right, you tell me, and I'll see if I can get there.
There are 8. And
Good
look,
God.
we've already said 2 of them.
Okay, not 8 seasons, 8 guys.
8 different players have finished between 2003 and 2,105, which was what Eric Dickerson posted in 1984, and is still the NFL record.
Here we go. So 8 guys: Eric Dickerson.
Yep.
Barry Sanders.
Yep. 2,053 in 1997.
We said Peterson, Adrian Peterson.
Correct. You've got 1, 2, and 4 on the list.
O.J. Simpson.
Correct. The first to do it in 1973 with 2003. He's 8th.
Did Tomlinson do it?
No. I'm going to let you have 3 strikes.
I know him. Oh, Walter Payton. Damn it, Walter never did it.
Walter never got more than 1852 in a season.
Yeah, and I know Emmett never did it. Oh God, what's his name? I can see him. Curtis Martin.
All right, you're done. Jamal Lewis in 2003 had 2,066 yards.
I wasn't getting that one.
Derrick Henry
Oof.
in 2020 had 2,027 yards.
Okay.
The next 2, I'm a little surprised you forgot. One of them, to me, is really obvious. It would have been one of my first answers. Terrell Davis in 1998 had 2008.
I forgot about, Davis had 2000. I forgot it. Yep.
And in 2009, Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson. Wow. Yeah, no, I wasn't going to come up with the backside of that. I can get those, the core ones, but I cannot get those, the more recent ones. That really makes me an old man fan there. All right. Look at that. That's a good running back buy or sell, which created a quiz. That's always good. Kids, go
get your questions.
Kids, go look up those 2,000-yard rushers. Dickerson still has that record, man. That's
wild, man.
Even with a 17-game season. Right now, we got an extra game. People can go get him. He was doing that that was a 16-game season, I think. That wasn't back in 14-game years. All right, Catch. Here we go. Let's start with some Texas football. Buy or sell number 1. You think Khalil Lockett will pick Texas on Wednesday, and UT fans should be jacked.
Buy. I'm about to lose my mind because my wife won't stop texting me. And, it annoys me because she set it up so that there's a ring that's different than when I get a text message from anybody else. There's like a wife ring of the phone.
Oh, she did that on purpose, didn't she?
Yeah. And I feel like even when I have the phone on, the phone hadn't rang any time else the rest of the day. And then she floods me with like 8 text messages. Woman, if you're going to do it, just make it one gigantic text message. You're interrupting professionalism here.
Yes,
But I do think Khalil Lockett will pick Texas. And I love Khalil Lockett. I really do. I wrote this. Can I read you something that I wrote?
Sure.
Let me see if I can find it here. It was in my 10 thoughts from the weekend. So I'm just going to go back to my column. This is what I wrote. I was wrong about this, but more than 2 years ago, this is what I wrote about Khalil Lockett. My first impression of him. Okay. Mm-hmm. Quote, you could talk me into Lockett being the best receiver prospect in the state because he's a little bigger than Decorian Moore and might be a better athlete. I was wrong about the better athlete part. One thing is certain, he seems like the best after the catch receiver in the state. Just get in the ball because he's a good enough athlete that once he gets his hands on the ball, he can score in just about any way you'd want to. Might not quite be the pound for pound football player that Moore is, but he might be slightly more breathtaking as a receiver.
Well, about that.
I mean, I love Khalil Lockett.
I like breathtating. First highlight is very breathtaking.
I've had Khalil Lockett higher than anybody since day one. So, I know Alex is a big Khalil Lockett fan. I know Cody likes Khalil Lockett. He's a real easy guy to like. But I had Khalil Lockett as a borderline 5-star player really before he was even getting high-level scholarship offers in. I think the world of him. So, yes, be jacked.
That first highlight on the reel, that'll take your breath away. It will only take about 5 to 8 seconds. Your breath will be taken, I promise. Buy or sell number 2, catch. Bolden will be first team by October.
Buy.
Well, kind of feel that way.
I think by October, yes.
All right. Buy or sell number 3, catch. Scotty Scheffler has taken the best season in golf back from Xander Schauffele.
Your head's kind of in the same place that my head is in.
Because you gave me the buy or sell saying that Schauffele had taken a better season. So I'm giving it back to you saying now Scotty has taken it back. Best season so far.
I'm going to say buy just because of the totality of it. There are more wins. I know he has one less major, but I've really what do I think of an Olympic gold medal in golf? I'm still not sure. I don't know. In 20 years from now, when we're talking about resumes, are we even going to include that? And I don't know.
And they haven't been around that long. Wasn't it 2016 was the first one?
I don't even know. That's what I'm saying. Like
it's new, man. Like it's literally in the last few where Justin Rose, I think, won the first one, and then it was Schauffele, but you had the COVID stuff, and that kind of felt.
Schauffele won the gold?
Schauffele won it in Tokyo.
I had no idea. That may answer the question. Okay. You know what? Sell.
Okay.
Because I didn't know Schauffele won in 2020. Tells me everything I need to know about the gold medal in the Olympics and just how valuable it is. I'll still take the 2 majors, and I think Scotty would too.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, catch. Buy or sell number 4. You still have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine, but you will go see it in the theater.
Buy. It's the most successful R-rated movie of all time. That's not my subjective opinion. That is box office receipts. It's weirdly, do you know the movie that it's passed?
With the most successful R-rated movie of all time?
Yes, from a box office standpoint.
Is Dark Knight R-rated? Is it like
no,
that?
But it's not Dark Knight.
Not Dark Knight, Tropic Thunder or
Passion of Christ.
Oh my God. I have not. Okay. There you go.
You know what?
I kind of love that.
Time.
I kind of love that. And now remind me, are you a Deadpool guy? Are you caught up? Do you like the first 2?
Yeah. The second Deadpool was not as good as the first Deadpool.
Correct.
But yeah, I like Deadpool.
Okay. Yeah, I think you'll love it. And I'm trying to find a way to get back to the theater to see it again. Like my wife wants to go see it again. Like that's how good it is.
Deal with a daughter who wants to go see Twisters a second time. But yeah, I'm going to go see it. It just hasn't happened yet.
Hey, I know y'all live a long way away, but you can just let her know. Like we're planning to go see Twisters sometime later in the week. If you can get your daughter here, we'll take her.
Oh, you ain't got to tell her twice.
Yeah, we'll do that. And finally, catch, let's go way back on a birthday. Buy or sell number 5, Lonnie Anderson turns 79 years old today. Prime on prime. Lonnie is hotter than Morgan Fairchild.
Ooh.
Blonde on blonde, 80s hair on 80s hair. Battle Royale. Lonnie Anderson, hotter than Morgan Fairchild.
Sell.
Ooh.
I have always thought Lonnie Anderson overrated.
You're saying the woman that charmed the bandit is overrated? The Bandit married her. How can she be overrated?
I don't know. It's just the way I've always felt.
All right. Fair enough. Happy birthday.
You know what? This is it's not going to be the most popular thing that anybody's ever said.
That's never stopped you.
But I always thought she was a little weird in the face.
Okay. All right. There it is. What if I had said she's weirder looking than Morgan Fairchild? You would have given me the buy on that one?
Like, I'm looking at a picture of here right now. It's an autographed 8x10 in her prime.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, that 70s hair does her no favors.
Okay.
It's just weird looking.
Man,
Look,
see,
man, I'm not trying to dog Lonnie Anderson.
No, I can tell.
Like, she's a beautiful woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's no Morgan Fairchild.
I see. Okay. Morgan Fairchild. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket. All right. Let's see.
By the way, that is a fascinating side by side. It's a man's game. 7. I feel like there are some really old people in the chat right now who are like,
yeah, I hope so, right? I was trying to kind of start up some pacemakers on that one, where it's like all of us old people were like, I remember Lonnie Henderson. Remember when they thought the turkeys could fly? And then, we'll get a little
Fairchild had some legs, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think both of them in their prime. If that was your thing, I think I thought it was a good tough battle. Let's see. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, I see. Olympic golf 1900 from Harry, but then it went away at some point. Reinstalled in 2016. Thank you, Harry. That's what I was thinking of. I knew it. Like, we had a long time. It's not like Jack Nicklaus, right, ever played in the Olympics, so they brought it back. There you go.
Hey, while I got you on a few topics.
Yes.
These were I'm just, let me give you a few buy or sells, okay?
Okay.
Buy or sell Roger Clemens ahead of Nolan Ryan.
Sell.
Really?
For me, it's a sell.
Why?
Well, you've got not only
because he's like old man Texas tough.
Well, he's old man Texas tough, but he's also got that no-hitter record, plus the amount of one-hitters that he had was incredible. The strikeout numbers, obviously, big time. And, you've got
0 Cy Youngs. Roger had 7.
It is true. That's true. If you're going to go by Cy Youngs, you got to lean towards Roger. I would lean towards Nolan.
Okay. Hey, your answer is your answer. I mean, ultimately, I've got one guy ranked 3rd and the other guy ranked 6th.
Yeah.
Does Earl Campbell, buy or sell, Earl Campbell deserves to be ranked ahead of Adrian Peterson, Eric Dickerson, and LaDainian Tomlinson? Now, look, Earl was 3-time offensive player of the year 3 times in a row. But he had 1 MVP. I think Peterson had 1 MVP. Tomlinson had 1 MVP. I think even Dickerson might have had 1 MVP. Like, I think all those guys won the MVP once, if I'm not mistaken.
The only guy, it kind of goes back to your buy or sell. I'd put him ahead of everybody but Dickerson, I think.
You'd put Dickerson ahead of Campbell.
It's the only one I would consider. In the end, I can make an argument either way. It's the one I would consider because of what we talked about earlier, right? The all-time rushing mark in a season. We all know about those overall numbers for Earl were not monstrous in the NFL. Like when you talk about the total yardage and everything, Ricky had more yards in the NFL than Earl did.
Okay. Now, real quick, okay?
So that's a maybe.
Let me tell you the 10 names I put on my all-time Texas top 10 in reverse order.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Nelson, Michael Johnson, Babe Didrikson, Earl Campbell, Nolan Ryan, Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people thought that was a bit premature, but the dude is a 2-time.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was interesting.
He's already got 3 rings, so, it's not that premature.
Yeah.
George Foreman, Roger Clemens, Ben Hogan, Simone Biles. My reasoning more than anything else for Simone Biles in the number one spot. She's the only person that I mentioned out loud that is the GOAT in her sport. Ben Hogan's not the GOAT. Clemens isn't the GOAT. Foreman's not the GOAT. Mahomes not the GOAT. Ryan not the GOAT. Campbell not the GOAT. Dietrichson not the GOAT in either of her sports. So Michael Johnson no longer the GOAT. And then Byron Nelson nowhere near the GOAT. So I'm just telling you why I put Biles first as part of the reasoning. I gave you the names. I'm going to give you my next 5, and you tell me if I wronged either of these 5 and they should have been on at the expense of somebody else, okay?
Okay.
Roger Hornsby.
Rogers Hornsby. Okay.
Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
Ernie Banks. Jack Johnson.
Wow, that's a good one.
Adrian Peterson.
Maybe Peterson, but I'm not exactly sure who you take off. I thought Michael Johnson needed to be higher on your list.
Interesting. I am an all-time Michael Johnson mark.
Michael Johnson is so specific and unique to me. He was such a badass, and when he was him back in those days. But no, I think it's pretty. I can't think of anybody. Maybe Rogers Hornsby, if an old school baseball person wanted to go through all of it with us, that would be one to look at. But I thought you put a pretty
punish people that would be like 150 years old today.
Yeah, you put a damn good list together. One question I would ask about Mahomes: does he have a good enough chance to become a GOAT where you might want to even notch him up a little bit?
Mahomes could finish number one.
Like, could there be a moment where even all the people right now that would tell you it's Brady, no doubt, don't even have the discussion? Is there going to be a day when even those people might say, you know what? It's Mahomes.
I think if Mahomes gets to 5, we're going to have a Jordan, LeBron type of quarterback conversation, because I think Mahomes is more spectacular with his play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Mahomes has a little bit of an Aaron Rodgers quality as well, where you watch him play quarterback and you go, God damn, I've never seen anybody do that before, ever. Never seen anybody do that.
See, this was my reaction in a way, Catch. I don't know if I'd go all the way to second. I did think Michael Johnson needed to be higher.
Well, hey, man, I'm telling you, I love Michael Johnson.
He was
so I will not fight anybody on that.
God, he was so good. I can't wait to see if what's his name, Lyles. Is that today the final of the 200, or is that still coming up? That's later in the week.
Coming up.
Okay. Yeah, got to check that out. Real quick before we, in case we might be headed towards an exit, let me see if I can get everybody headed towards Hayes City Store. Remember, get over there to Driftwood. Oh, it is such a good time. It is such good food. Go see Travis, Tamara, and the crew. Whatever it is you're looking for, they have an incredible version of it. If you love chicken fried steak, if you love burgers, if you love pork chops, if you love a good draft beer made in the great state of Texas or some other locations, now that I think about it. If you love your whiskey, if you love frozen margaritas, if you love a good vodka drink, if you love all of that, hell, if you just love cream gravy that will make you want to slap your mama, Hayes City Store has all that out in Driftwood, right there between Kyle and Wimberley on FM 150. Do not be in a hurry, because it is one of those places you got to, unless you live out there, you kind of got to be headed there. You don't accidentally just drive by Hayes City Store, but you are going to want to go back when you get there. Phenomenal food, great service. The drinks are incredible. The desserts are the best in the world. I've never had a better key lime pie in my life. Try them. Hayes City Store, and let me know if I am telling any lies. All right, Mr. Ketchum, anything else we need to hit today? We hit practice stuff. We hit the coaches poll where Texas is 4 in the preseason coaches poll. Anything else we need to hit today? I did have a couple practice type questions for you.
Give them to me. I'm not in any rush.
Okay, so a couple notes. The notes, since we've talked about Jahdae Barron, let me go over this. This note, I think it's from Alex Dunlap, pointing out that Jelani McDonald was running 1 reps at safety. For you, does that speak more to McDonald, or do you think that is just a comment about Michael Taft and the fact that he's rocking this cast right now, and they're just looking at, they just want to take a look at some other combos?
I wouldn't overreact to that. And I don't think Alex did.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he didn't.
Look, man, Jelani McDonald's a borderline 5-star. So it's year 2. And in year 2, you should be taking off or you were overrated. So when we look back and the offense, and I believe that even with the offensive line, Jelani McDonald is essentially DJ Campbell from a year ago. It's okay. Year 1 didn't completely light the world on fire, but some of these guys are too talented to keep off the field. And my impression of that is he's really talented. So don't overreact, because it could be a one-day deal or an isolated type situation. And ultimately, maybe he's still a year away from being a starting level player. But let's take a second. Derek Williams and him were essentially ranked the same. So, Derek Williams is given benefit of the doubt that McDonald has not been given, but from a talent standpoint, pretty even. He's more talented naturally than Makuba. Makuba's like a day 3 NFL draft pick. McDonald's got a chance to be significantly higher than an end of the draft type of draft prospect. And then there's Michael Taft, right? Michael Taft, I think Michael Taft's got a chance to play on Sundays. But when we talk upside, Williams and McDonald to me have the most. And then you could probably throw Xavier Filsaime in there. But you know what? It might be this time next year when we read kind of the same thing about Filsaime, where it's like, hey, he's running some first-team safety. And I think we all will go, oh, yeah, no, he's supposed to be a total badass. If these guys don't get hurt, if they don't get sidetracked by things they're not supposed to get sidetracked by, you would expect that the light switch to start coming on. So my impression of that was just a reminder. It's like, oh, yeah, that guy carries a wallet that says bad MF on it, and it might only be a matter of time.
Catch, while you were talking, $20 super chat came in from South Texas. Thank you, South Texas. Ask anyone. Oh, no, I'm assuming this is, has anyone asked Sark his plan on Oklahoma falsely claiming their falsely helmet communications are down during the game? As I understand the rule, if one team's comms are down, comms cannot be used. Wow, the idea that Oklahoma might go all Bill Belichick on this thing, Catch, and try to screw with Texas.
South Texas, in your own special way, this is my favorite super chat of the day. And it's been a day with 2 shows where we've had some super chats that I'm going to remember all season long. You asking whether or not there's been a preemptive strike. Has anybody asked Sark about it early in August so he could go on the record about it? So if and when it happens in October, our like pessimism and, inability to believe in truthfulness will have already been established, and we would expect that from the land thieves. No, that has not happened yet, but by God, maybe it should.
Well, Catch, here's the thing. I don't ever remember a story like this. So we all know what the headsets, right, that the coaches wear. The rule there is if one side legitimately goes out, they have to turn everything off. But have you ever heard, Catch, about one team having a problem with the helmet communication and then everybody's got to turn off the helmet communication? I've never heard of that in the NFL.
I have.
Okay.
It has happened before.
So like the coach would have to notify the ref, and then the ref would have to what? Put the helmet on himself? Hello?
No, until the technology's back up and running, just nobody gets turned off.
You shut them both down. That would be wild, especially in a rival game at a neutral site like that. You're in Dallas. One team goes up like 10-0, and all of a sudden the other head coach says, "We can't hear anything in our helmets."
It's like that scene in Forrest Gump when the military guy just turns the mic off. You can, like you said, it's 14-0 after 5 minutes. We can't.
Yeah.
Our helmets.
I can't hear you. I can't. Yeah. All of a sudden, Jackson Arnold just can't
Somebody
get a
went
signal.
and pulled the cord on the plug. No, South Texas, that has not happened yet. But you know what? I may have a good talk with Anwar Richardson later on today. I'm going to say, Anwar, the next time you get Sark.
Oh, please don't have him ask that question. Please don't. We don't want to get Anwar kicked out of a Sark event like this early. Come on.
By the way, shame on Alabama football. They banned our guy, Kyle Henderson, from practice.
Yeah, did you figure out what this is?
They've not told him why.
Really?
And he's had to hire a lawyer to try to figure out why.
That is.
Never heard of anything like it before.
He had to get a lawyer?
Yes. Because they've told him, apparently, we're not credentialing you because of like ethics issues. And he's like, well, what ethics issues are you talking about? We're not going to tell you.
Apparently, there's a lot of sensitivity in the SEC. There's also a story where the Aggies like banned a site.
Banned the 24/7 A&M site.
For a practice. Like, just chill out, guys, for a practice. And they wouldn't tell them why.
You couldn't just tell them, hey, don't do that again?
They wouldn't tell them what it was. That's weird parenting, right? You're
Give
grounded.
John Bianco some credit, because over the last 20 years, I've done some things that they've not liked. They never banned me. There's always okay, don't ever do that again. And it's like, okay.
Right. By the way, Rex, no stupid questions. We're glad to do it. Stupid question. No. Is the communication two-way? Can Quinn talk back to Sark, or is it just Sark to Quinn? It's just Sark to Quinn. It's just like the NFL. The coach talks to the player. If you've ever seen the NFL Films version, like they're walking around and they'll do like a, hey, you got me. And the quarterback just does that. The quarterback cannot speak back to the coach. That is how that works. But good question.
It'd be cool, though, if he had one of those mics in the helmet.
It would. The Garth Brooks mic. Have the Garth mic from the old days. Yeah, exactly.
You had a couple more questions, Chad.
Okay, so what else? Staying on the defensive side, what about, and we did ask that one, yes. What about Gilbo and Barron? Gilbo still running, first team nickel, Barron second team nickel. How do I phrase this? Give me your comfortability level with a combo of, let's say it's Gavin Holmes and Barron out on the other side at corner. What's your confidence level on those two guys, if that's the idea?
Okay.
I
mean, Gavin Holmes is a respectable, solid player. It's probably what I think of Jahdae Barron on the outside. Maybe a little. Maybe my expectations are, they're not the same. Jahdae probably better against the run. So if you're playing Michigan, I think Alex even mentioned this in his column based on, it was a good point. If you're playing a more physical type team, you probably lean on one guy versus the other. We just haven't seen. Jahdae Barron was pretty good last year. He wasn't great. Not so good that you could move him anywhere and you just think to yourself, he's first rounder no matter what. Like, that's not what he is. So I think everybody needs to see a little bit of him at outside corner to see what that looks like. Is he better definitely than Gavin Holmes? What about Javion Cole? How much is he truly in the mix? Kobe Black?
Yeah. What I was going to ask you about Cole is, Cole being the transfer of those two that you mentioned, him and Black. If I'm a Texas fan, would you be thinking, wait a minute, doesn't Cole need to take that job? If those two guys are fighting for that outside job, isn't that Cole's job to go get?
I mean, they recruited him to do that.
Right.
But he does have multiple years of eligibility remaining. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing that it takes Cole a season to fully adjust. I'm reminded back. I do this all the time. I forget about the kid's name that came in from McNeese State a couple of years ago. It was Herman's last recruit. Sark inherits him. And Somebody say the name for me.
I cannot think of who.
You'll have to forgive me. It's like that Kelly Bundy thing in Married with Children. My brain is so full of crap, a lot of useless movie knowledge, that when one learned thing goes out, one learned thing is unlearned, or one goes in, one goes out. Anyway, it took a year for the McNeese State guy to acclimate himself to college football. And by the end of the year, Darian Dunn, thank you, Matthew Miller.
Good job. Nice job, Matthew.
You've given me the whole day, and I wouldn't have come up with that. By the end of that year in 2021, Darian Dunn had just started to turn into the kind of guy that you're like, oh, man, I wish that guy was sticking around for another year. He was pretty good. But it took a while for him to acclimate himself. Sark, I don't think, trusted him. By the end of the year, that trust had been earned, and then he's out of eligibility. If Javion Cole has a similar season as Darian Dunn, then by the end of the year, we're going to go, Javion Cole's actually pretty good. The difference being that he'll have one more extra year. Barron and Holmes will be gone after this season. Now, Malik Muhammad would still have one of those spots, and Cole's probably competing against Kobe Black at that point for the other spot. But yeah, I think that everybody needs to be a little bit patient with Javion Cole if come Michigan, he's not in that rotation.
All right. Quick super chat here. $2 from South Texas. I'm not sure if I understand this one. I think like a foreman. Oh, wait a minute. That's the person that was talking about the communication system. Is that what they're saying? They think you mean like a foreman on a work site? Is that what you mean? South Texas? I didn't know what BBC meant earlier, so you're going to excuse me.
Is this Deontay Foreman? Then I thought I had George Foreman on the top 10 list.
Well, because he capitalized it, right? A foreman, if you're just a foreman on a site, I guess you would get that capital, right? If I'm a manager or I'm a boss. Did
he mean Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago?
Bring my car around with that voice. Yes. Oh, that's great.
All right, so I've got a couple of hot takes.
Okay.
Not even hot takes. We just have to talk about the Olympics before we go.
Okay.
Julian Alfred's the best women's athlete in the history of Texas athletics.
I saw you put that in your 10 thoughts. I think there's a good argument for it.
I don't even think there's an argument.
Yeah.
Because as a collegiate athlete, she did all of the spectacular things that Kat did, that Clarissa Davis did. In fact, Clarissa Davis, in a weird way, because Clarissa won a national championship, people forget with Julian Alfred, or they just don't know. In her last year at Texas 2 years ago, she wins the national championship in the 100, the national championship in the 200, the national championship in the 4x1. She single-handedly led the Texas women's track team to a team national championship. So she got all of the individual glory. Back-to-back 100-meter champion. Hadn't been done in 10 years before she did it. So, she is in rarefied air performance-wise as a college athlete. To then go and win a gold medal in the 100 meters in the Olympics is just beyond the scope of anything that is beyond anything that I guess you could have a Sandra Richards kind of discussion.
Yeah,
she would be, I think, in that discussion. But I don't think Sandra Richards did quite what Julian Alfred did at the collegiate level. She didn't lead. She didn't carry Texas to a national championship.
Yeah. And she's not done.
And the thought is that the 200 is actually her best event. So when we're done here, we'll see. But
she was so impressive, like in both the semi and the final. Man, Sha'Carri Richardson just did not have enough. And you could feel it in that semi. And I'm like, woo. Because I've honestly catch right up until that final. I had forgotten that Alfred went to UT. I'd forgotten that connection. I'm always looking for a good state of Texas, that kind of thing. So I'm rooting for the Dallas girl. I'm like, come on, Sha'Carri, let's get it done. Dallas, Texas. And then Alfred is, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Hold on. And so it turns into kind of a Texas battle of sorts. She was awesome. She was absolutely awesome. And to this quick $2 super chat, Tracy, I think the answer to this one is yes. Better than Sonia Richards-Ross? I think yes.
And it's close.
It's close. Sonia got a gold in the 4.
Correct.
I think is right.
Sandra has 4 Olympic gold medals,
Okay.
but 3 of them are on the relays.
3 relays.
She won the 400 in 2012. I don't think her collegiate career was as strong as Alfred's.
And at the pro level, you got to consider as badass as the 400 is. When you are world's fastest man or world's fastest woman, there's a different. They don't
say that about the person who wins the 400.
Right. There's a different level to that. And Catch, I do love whoever thought it up first. That graphic was great to point out that Texas now has, at this moment, the fastest woman in the world and the fastest man in the history of the NFL. That's brilliant. That is a brilliant thing to point out.
Look, it's really close. I actually understand the argument for Sonia Richards. I'm leaning Julian Alfred, and I don't mean to be she was already in that discussion, forget about the Olympics, because of what she was able to accomplish at the collegiate level. There's, the number of individual players who've put a team on their back and won a team national championship at the University of Texas. Like, it's a short list.
Yeah.
Right. Team sports aren't supposed to be dominated by one. She's even more important to the success of that team winning a national championship a couple of years ago than Vince Young was. You say what you want to, but Vince he didn't do everything. Even if you go back to the USC game, it took, Michael Griffin making a big play here and a big run stop on 4th down. And everybody kind of contributed to the victory. She just carried the damn team. So I think it's very, very close. I think Sonia Richards-Ross is on the Mount Rushmore of athletes, along with, I would probably say, Kat Osterman and Clarissa Davis. That's incredible company to give. And
I think
it was that look, and then Kevin Durant became Team USA on the men's side's all-time leading rebounder in the last game. He was already the all-time leading scorer and the all-time leader in points per game. He's 6 rebounds away from breaking the men's and women's record for rebounding. He's going for his 4th gold medal. He's the greatest international basketball player of all time. Full stop. And I don't know, what that means. And I don't mean when we rank the best NBA players or the best basketball players of all time, I don't know that we give a ton of consideration for what they do internationally in that competition, in part because even a guy like Jordan was only able to play once until 92. So I guess he has 2. It's amazing what Durant's done as an international player, going for his 4th gold medal. And when this is all said and done, will basically own every statistical category that a player could own. When you consider the players that have played on team, LeBron is a perfect example. LeBron's played a lot of international basketball. He's 40 years old, and Durant, it's just, I don't think we've stopped enough to appreciate this particular level of greatness that Durant has produced. It's an incredible resume.
No, it is really impressive, especially when we've watched it ever since 92 and that first dream team. When you can stand out in that group, you're incredible. When you can be on the floor with those guys and you stand out, like, this team is badass to start with. When Durant walks on the floor, it changes. It just changes. The other team changes. The U.S. team changes. That game earlier in the run where he just started what, 7 for 7, 9 for 9, 11 for 11, whatever it was. He wouldn't miss. I mean, he's just such a weapon, such an incredible scorer. And yeah, to get out there with, and LeBron's playing his ass off right now. It's not like LeBron is, stumbling to the finish line. He's still a badass. And Durant just feels like he's on a different level than everybody.
He's spooky from the international three. It seems like such a short shot.
Yeah, he makes it feel like Tim Duncan shooting like that. Tim Duncan or Scottie Pippen shooting from 15. That's what it feels like to me. When he takes that wing three, it feels like one of those guys just bank, like when Duncan used to bank it in from like 12 to 15 from that angle. It's crazy. Crazy
By
to
the
watch.
way, like I see my man Tracy, he's making a really good case for Sonia Richards-Ross.
He's throwing the full resume at you.
Like he throws this one out there. And if I'm not mistaken, like Julian Alfred was a 12-time All-American. I mean, they both were all-time great runners. With Julian Alfred, if I'm not mistaken, she has all 10 of the 10 fastest 100-meter times ever run at the collegiate level at UT. She owns her sport at a level. And can I say the quiet part out loud? The 100 meters is a bigger and more important event than the 400 meters.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's that flashier event. It is, again, fastest woman in the world, fastest man in the world. What was, everybody.
The world stops when the 100-meter finals are run.
Right. Like you and I remember watching Michael Johnson run the 200, and maybe we watched Usain Bolt run the 200, but everybody in the world made sure to watch the 100. It is the race.
I can remember every 100 meters Olympic men's race since 1984.
Right. You just got to catch it. Like it's the one you got to see. By the way, were you with Lyles? Did you think the Jamaican guy had beaten him?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's so funny. The American, by the way, NBC, I'm going to give you a volleyball clap. The coverage has been great.
Oh, yeah.
NBC's done an incredible job. I think the Gold Zone channel, it's not the first time we've seen something like that. It's so good. And they put the right guys to put the Chris Hansons of the world in there and guys that know how to handle the red zone that they went. Okay, this is going to be red zone-ish. Especially Chris.
Scott Hansen. I think Chris Hansen is the
predator.
He's trying to catch the predators, not that. Scott Hansen. They don't do that. They don't have like the badminton guys walk in. Oh, nice of you to show up. Where have you been? No, that's not what they do.
Forgive me. Sorry for that. I think they've done a great job. It is ironic, though, that the American broadcast completely botched the 100 meters. They called it for Jamaica. And then even after Lyles was running around the track celebrating the victory, they were very late to know what the hell was going on.
Well, for him to, especially with all the bravado he's got, right? He's nothing. He loves to just talk and try to back it up. For him to go to the other guy and he said, man, I think you got me. He said to him, I think I'm going to have to eat my words. I think I'm going to have to, whatever it was, I'm going to have to take this one. And then he realized, and then he looks up and sees it. And it's like, wow. And then he says, and all I could think was, damn, I'm great, or something like that. It was perfect. And every time I see it now, Catch, for the rest of my life, my eye will not absolutely see him ahead. For some reason, I can't, I'll see it when they freeze it. I see it, the chest thing, and I didn't, how they determine it, but I can't see it with my naked eye every time. It looks like a tie every time.
It's the thing that we'll remember about that race is that,
my eye tells me what the clock told us, which is tie, because they had the exact same time, but they have that little detail of it's your chest, it's your clavicle. That has to cross first. It's not a foot. It's not a head. It's got to be that. So it was incredible to watch. And by the end of it, Catch, Tracy is taking he thought about it. says, I will agree with Catch to take Julian over Sonya. I don't want Catch pissed at me. LMAO.
It's a little bit like the Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan deal.
Yeah.
Because their resumes aren't the same, but they're both great in the same sport.
Right.
You know, when you make the Nolan Ryan case, it sounds different than the Roger Clemens case.
Yeah. Now that one's a little more apples to apples because we are talking about the same position in the same sport.
Yes.
Right. That's where your argument to me about Cy Young's could just be the argument where you go, look, man, if we're judging it on this guy's got 7, this guy doesn't have any. As somebody pointed out today, Nolan probably got screwed for a couple, but so what? In the end, the numbers are the numbers. But with Sonya and Alfred, there's an apple orange thing to it. It's track and field, but it's those different races. And how do you determine this relay versus this race?
Well, and lion versus tiger. You know, it is.
Right, exactly.
You're having 2 jungle cats that aren't the same go after each other. And at the end of the day, it's not tiger, jaguar, lion. Both of them. And what are we're debating gold medal, all-time great.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is, it just might be that those women are 1 and 2, and that Kat and Clarissa Davis, we could have a competition about who's 3rd and who's 4th on that list. And it might just be that 1 and 2 are the 2 track stars. And
because those two have both, whereas those other 2 you mentioned, Kat doesn't have the natty, does have the world level, and then Clarissa Davis is the opposite. Clarissa's got the natty, but then doesn't have quite the success on the world level. So it all kind of.
And look, let's let the other part of this is, like, I'm calling her the best right now. She's not done.
Right.
You know, if she pulls off the double, what are we talking about? Like,
then you're done.
Yeah. Because she won't have a chance to. I almost don't recognize the relays because she doesn't have a team that she can run on. She's like Luka. Like, you can't really talk about his international career. He's playing with like the Seven Dwarfs, right? And
that's true.
And she's the first medalist in the history of her country, which is an indication that they probably don't have 3 other people that can run to put her in a position to win some relays, right?
I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah.
So she's just, through no fault of her own, is ever going to be able to run on a team like that. But if she goes 100, 200 double, shut it down. Because Sonya Richards-Ross has the 1 gold medal in the 400 in her career, never did that again. Now, look, that's not to say that that's the end of her resume. I was literally just looking at it a second ago. You know, she won the 400 meter gold individual once at the world championship level. So she won the world championship in 2009, and she won the gold both in the 400 meters at 2012. So she's got 1 event in the relays that's kind of her specialty. If it's a big if, but if she goes to double in the 100, 200, and even if she medals, if she finishes 2nd or the bronze, hold on. I'm going to put you on mute for just a second.
Okay. Yeah, have a little conversation. By the way, Anthony, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. The Noah having a bad start. It was he's a classic slow starter, but man, that finish was absolutely stupid. They said he was in last place at the 20 and 30 meter mark, I think, and maybe even 40. But for the last 60 meters, he was way faster than everybody. Crazy stuff from Noah Lyles. Can't wait to see him in the 2. Always.
So apparently, Chad, I need to get off the show.
All right. Well, fair enough. There you go. Hey, Mama Talks. We gotta get it done. Thanks to everybody for jumping in the Specs chat today. Damn near 700 folks as we get ready to close up. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Football with Friends, 6 o'clock this evening. Tomorrow at 10 is the Modcast. And probably should throw this up one more time. Is it midnight tonight on the free trial offer?
I believe so, yes.
All right, midnight tonight on this free trial offer, getting you August and September for free to check out.
Get in the game.
Come on. Join OB24 is your code. There's that QR code. If you just want to scan through that way, remember the code, join OB24. All right. Until noon tomorrow, we are House